Thanks for joining us. I'm Nancy Furness, and this is We've Got Issues. Before we get started, I'd just like to acknowledge that our interviews are taking place on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded lands of Coquitlam First Nation. So we thank the Coquitlam people who continue to live on these lands and to care for the lands and the waters and all that lies above and below. Our interviews are taking place at the Coquitlam City Centre Library, and we'd like to thank the library for providing the space for us to carry out our interviews. And today I'm joined by Jeremy Shepard, who is the editor of the TriCity's Dispatch. So thanks so much for joining us today, Jeremy.
Thanks for having me in the studio. Appreciate it.
You know, the TriCity's Dispatch is a local, not-for-profit media. And it covers a big area, the Tri-City, so Coquitlam, Port Moody, Anmore and Belcarra.
Belcarra, yes.
How long has the Dispatch been in production? And can you just give us a little bit of background? How many people subscribe to it, that sort of thing?
Okay. We started in spring of 2021. I took over, I believe, that March. And yeah, I think we've had about 1,200 or so dispatches since then.
Wow.
All of them great, no notes. And I think we're around 9,400 subscribers right now.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And I know personally, I start the day with the Dispatch with a cup of coffee and I read the Dispatch, and it makes me feel more connected to the community because for, you know, the types of things you cover very well, I have to say.
Thank you.
So can you give us some idea just of the types of things that you do cover and how that would differ from, you know, what we would see if we turned on the 6 o'clock news? So what issues are important to the Tri-Cities, and why is it important that local media cover those?
Well, there are some stories that, you know, where we'll get a great reporter from maybe CBC will come down. But, you know, they will come down for a murder, they'll come down for a trial, or they'll come down for certain bizarre council things. But the more day-to-day meat and potatoes business of city council or transportation, they're just not going to sort of rise to the level of a regional or a provincial interest. And so that's, I think, where you need a local media person to sit through those council meetings or pour through those, you know, reports and ask people, you know, questions and get them the facts that they might miss out if they're just on, you know, Facebook groups or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So sort of going through the finer details and things that are especially relevant to our area rather than sort of a bigger picture or the more sensational stories kind of things. Okay, no, that's great. And then also, you know, the Tri-Cities is a really big place. It's about 250,000 people, I believe now, so we've grown. How do you cover it all? Like, how do you make sure you're representing all of the area?
Oh, it's a real challenge, and I know that, you know, we sometimes are going to miss out on some stories because there's so much happening. You know, like we got to Anmore. Anmore was sort of a bit neglected, but
You made up for some lost time there.
We made up for some lost time recently with the whole Anmore South proposal, drawn, redrawn, withdrawn, and every step of that, which was a fascinating process.
And that's something that may not be covered in detail through a larger, more regional media outlet as well, I guess.
Yeah, we did see some coverage toward the end. I think that the residents, I mean, whether you were for or against that proposal, I think you have to credit the residents for really making enough noise that a lot of people did take interest, and I saw coverage in The Sun and some other publications.
They're a well-organized group.
They really were, yeah. But I think initially, you know, it was really just us and Tri-City News at the time writing about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So are you on your own at the Dispatch, or are there other folks that are working and contributing there? Can you tell us a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, we don't have a central office. It's all remote, so we're all working from our homes. But yeah, we have Patrick Penner, who is based in Port Moody and does a tremendous job. He is, you know, going through that city council every single week and poring over the finer points of development proposals and financial incentives and all that kind of thing. And Hanna Hett, I think you've talked with her, right?
I have spoken with her.
Yeah,
Yes.
she particularly likes more sort of environmental issues, and we're going to have her on for a few more days a week, it looks like. We've sort of
excellent.
got a little more space in that budget, so that'll be great. And,
You know, I think you have two really solid journalists there. And what I really appreciate is that there's a depth of analysis. So it's not just reporting specifically on the facts, but it's looking deeper into those facts and why things are happening and connecting the dots. And I think that's something that we sometimes miss if we're getting those, 10-second sound bites and things like that. So much appreciated some of that in-depth work that's being done.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, there was one recently where there was the province kind of pitched, I think it was supportive housing or a shelter in Port Moody. And, Patrick really took a lot of time on this, and he got the province's point of view, he got council's point of view, and I thought really wrote a comprehensive story on it that, could have been just a soundbite.
Yeah, no, and I think it's really important and something that is lacking.
Yeah.
Generally. So as far as interfacing with the community, do you have opportunities, like if residents had a story that they wanted to share or an opinion that they felt very strongly about, or even an event, is there a way that they can interface with you and share those stories?
Oh, you bet. I mean, that's really what we're there for. I mean, there's some things that we're absolutely going to find out. If something comes through City Council, if there's a major budget announcement, of course we're going to cover that. But if it's something that affects a certain neighborhood, we rely on the public in a huge way to bring those stories to our interest. So yeah, we have hello@tricitiesdispatch.com is probably the easiest one, or just to get the newsletter and hit reply that way. And yeah, if they have a lot of our events, a lot of our coverage comes from those kind of suggestions from residents.
Well, that's great to know. So it sounds like you're actually encouraging people to contact you if they have stories or events to cover, things like that. And yeah,
please, write to us anytime. I don't guarantee coverage, but I guarantee consideration, and a lot of good stories come that way.
Well, and I think too, the Dispatch is a little bit of the glue that holds this community together, because there are things that I would never know about or hear about if I didn't open up the Tri-Cities Dispatch. It comes straight into your mailbox, right?
Yeah.
5 days a week.
5 days a week,
Before 7 a.m.
Yes, there was one time where it was late because we used AI, but that was a mistake, and I'll never let it happen again.
Okay, interesting. So it's all done. You're up there in the morning.
Well, we set it up, but we had
it?
this, I don't know, we edited this part out. We had this weird sort of option on the website to use AI to send it at an optimal time. And I thought, ooh, an optimal, that sounds really good. Didn't work at all. People were getting it at like 7 o'clock at night. So
oh, no.
I don't think my wife ever got the one that day. So we, one and only, and never again.
Okay, so point for Dispatch, one way for AI. That's interesting. Okay. And can you maybe share a little bit with us about the operations behind Tri-Cities Dispatch? Like, you're not a corporately owned for-profit media outlet. The model that it's based on is something quite different. Can you explain how that works and maybe what the principles behind that are?
Well, the principle is basically to be free from any influence. And there's always going to be some influence, but we try and be as independent as possible. And the idea is that the funding comes from some advertising. We have the federal funding for the Local Journalism Initiative Fund, which funds a lot of Patrick's work, and donations. And so the influence can be from the people who read it, who can tell us what they like about it, why they're subscribing, why they're not, why they're donating, why they're not sure yet, and yeah.
Oh, that's interesting, because I know you do send out surveys like what's of interest to you, and you do get some donations, but so it's federally supported. It's donations.
As far as like Patrick's position is, comes under that journalism grant.
And a little bit of advertising income. Okay, so in other words, which is interesting, you don't have to make your corporate owners happy, you maybe a little bit stakeholders because of people who are donating. And I think we used to have two other papers, like actual papers, newspapers.
Oh, I remember them well, yeah.
Yeah, Coquitlam Now left us first, and then TriCity News has just recently, I think in April, has stopped production.
Right before the federal election, which
Right, but the
was
timing.
like, we're going to make a bad decision, but let's make it a little worse and cut it off just before the election happens. Which, yeah.
Like, the timing was incredible.
I know, yeah.
But when the Coquitlam Now stopped, I asked a former editor, like, why did we even need two newspapers, right? Like, one newspaper could probably cover everything, right? And she was very clear, and she said, no. She said, we need at least two papers and possibly more because we hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
So we look at each other's stories, we look at this, the perspective that they're written from, and sometimes we counter that. And you can't cover everything, so it's good to have at least two or more media outlets. But the thing that I found interesting was the accountability aspect. So they were kind of keeping each other accountable. Now, TriCity Dispatch, you're the only local media out there at the moment.
Yeah.
Who keeps you accountable?
Well, we try and keep ourselves accountable, but you're right. It is better to have competition. I mean, when we started, the idea was that we would be, depending on sort of funding and our ambitions, we would be a competitor and a complement to TriCity News. And so we would go where they wouldn't go, maybe, and we would flesh out stories that they'd done smaller versions of. And by the same token, if they got it first and they got it better, well, we would link to their story and go read it over there. And so now it's really on us and sort of our conscience and our background to just do the best job we can. But I'll be honest with you, it is a loss. We're missing them, and yeah.
So it's interesting that you're missing the other media as well.
Yeah.
So to me, that shows integrity. You're not saying yay, they're gone. Now we can do whatever we want. You're saying no, we need more media too. So.
Oh yeah. Like I'm kind of a competitive person. I would like it if we did better than them. But to them. And I know they're raising money, and they're trying to get a new sort of news co-op off the ground, and I wish them well. But yeah, it is better to have that to bounce off. I mean, I had this, again, I don't know if you want to cut this part out, but I had this lovely English editor, and he would sort of, once a week he would get the competition's newspaper, and I think he would eat sardines and leaf through while all the reporters were within earshot, and then you'd hear him sort of clear his throat. How come we didn't get that story? That's interesting. And, then you had to come up with an answer of like, well, I was going to, but I'm waiting for an expert. I'm going to do a better version, or it's going to come back to council next week and I'm going to write about it then. And they would, in small ways, sometimes larger ways, they would move our coverage. And,
Right. Okay, so you get that kind of balance. You don't get all coverage on one thing and no coverage on the other. When you've got people covering different things, it kind of pulls you together a little bit to maybe do that deeper analysis or a different perspective.
Yeah. And there's some things like, I love sports. We don't really have enough bodies to cover sports in the Tri-Cities, and that's something that, I used to link to a lot of Tri-City News sports stories, but yeah.
Well, okay, so why do you think we're losing so much media? Like, what's happening here? We used to have so much more, and now we're seeing our media disappear and really struggling to come back. Like,
I know.
What's going on?
Well, that's a good question. I don't have a great answer for you. It seemed like we sort of, and I say we, I mean the industry seemed to make a choice to leave behind print and what were kind of dollars for advertising to chase dimes on the internet. And it was really hard to make a go of it. You have a few people who kind of were reader-supported publications, I put us in that category, who've made a go, but getting sustainable online advertising is a real challenge. I mean, if you're an advertiser, you're kind of lost in the sort of the white noise of the internet rather than getting page 2 in the newspaper.
You're not sitting right on somebody's table looking straight into their face anymore. Right?
Sure. I mean, I talked to the guy who used to run a restaurant in Vancouver, and he would always get page 2 because everyone would open the newspaper, and there he'd be, with
strategy.
Yeah.
No, it's true. I think things do get lost, and I know personally, looking for things online through pages and having to flip through things, it can be frustrating, and I think a lot of people just don't. Whereas I think for the Dispatch, having it come right into your mailbox and like all you do is click right on those links and you can see the different stories each day, I think to me that's much more friendly.
Oh, thank you.
And
Yeah.
I do miss the print as well, I
Yeah.
have to admit.
And there is an element, sorry, but just also of cutting it. You cut staff, you cut resources for a newspaper until it becomes this thin little rag, and then sort of
You lose your advertising.
you lose reader interest too.
Yeah.
Where readers sort of leaf through a few and they go, well, what are we keeping this for anyway? There's nothing in here, and so it becomes not worth saving in a lot of people's minds, and that's a tough perception to come back from.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
hard. Yeah, it's hard to come back from sort of that point. But
Yeah.
where are people getting their news from now, do you think, other than the Dispatch? Where are people turning?
Well, I mean, I want to be like, there's still great reporters doing great stuff, but I do see a lot of people getting news right from a Facebook group, for example, that kind of thing. I had a reporter tell me that, they were just asked by somebody on Facebook, how come I'm not getting any news here anymore? And, obviously, if you're only getting your news from Facebook, you might not hear that there's a Facebook ban on Canadian news. So, yeah.
Exactly, and that was a big blow. I use Facebook, and that was a big blow to not be able to put any news links into Facebook. Everything becomes so much harder to verify.
Oh, it's a
Right?
real concern. I mean, especially if we get into an emergency situation where there's maybe
True.
wildfires. I mean, this is sort of the community hub, for better or worse. And yeah, it would be really good to be able to share information in real time on Facebook, but not at the moment.
Also, even when I think one of the risks you run on Facebook is that it gets very polarized very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
So if you have something and a bunch of people jump on that with one sort of take on it, it becomes very contentious, and the facts are oftentimes just lost.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to be online to fight, or maybe it's something about the platform does it, but there was a legendary Facebook, I think it was a Facebook post about a rainbow cake, and how could this possibly be controversial? It inspired so much acrimony and name calling and just, hatred among people, and this is not really conducive to anything in terms of building a more harmonious, informed community.
It's incredible the
yeah.
places we end up.
Yeah, it really is, yeah.
So what are your favorite kind of stories to cover? Like, I know you said sports. Is that where, if you could cover anything, is that where you would focus, or is there something else that's your passion as well?
When I was younger, I think it would have been sports, or I used to sort of I dream of being a music critic or something like that.
Ah.
But as I get a little older, I really have more of an interest in historical pieces.
Oh, interesting.
And,
Okay.
I try not to do them all the time. I don't want to wear out anybody's patience with them. But yeah, I really like to...
Are you talking local history or
Yeah.
global?
Yeah, I mean,
I know-
even sometimes when they're... Oh, so go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
No.
just going to say, I know the preamble to, like, you have some really interesting, this on this day in 1542.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you have some really interesting facts and sort of stories that you kind of tie in before you get into the news articles. So is that what you're talking about, kind of bringing that out more?
Oh, sometimes, yeah. Like I like writing those preambles, and sometimes that's a way to do it. But no, like I remember Benita Zarillo a few years ago raised questions about the legacy of Father Millard. And,
Oh, yes, right.
And the name of Maillardville.
Right.
And I found he was such a difficult person to know much about. But the search was fascinating.
It's interesting, the things you can uncover.
Yeah. And that's what I'm still waiting for. I'm still hoping that someday more comes to light on that. But yeah, how a city formed, what Port Moody used to be, who worked there, what were the conditions like,
Right.
what changed things, and I always find that fascinating.
Well, I think you'll never have a shortage of things to write about, right?
Yeah.
And all those things are interesting, and again, something that maybe wouldn't be covered by a larger, more regional or national sort of news outlet, but something that's really important to the folks that live right here in the Tri-Cities.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you in the first place to get into writing and editing and that sort of thing?
Oh, with the Tri-Cities, it sort of came about. We had the COVID, and I lost a position that I'd had for quite a while. And I kind of felt like maybe that's it with journalism, and I should go get a real job somewhere.
That's the impetus to the push you needed.
Yeah, and then this popped up, and I thought, well, geez, I grew up in Coquitlam. Maybe I can give this one more chance and just see if maybe, because we didn't know at the time. There was a newsletter in Victoria, but I don't think even the Fraser Valley Current, for anybody up there, is fantastic. I don't even know if that had launched at that point yet. So it was really a mystery to find out if anybody would subscribe or enjoy it. And so I thought, well.
So now you're up to almost 10,000 subscribers.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I mean, we'll probably be over that by the time this is, you put
Interview's
this out.
over?
Yeah, with the bump from We've Got Issues.
Of course. So, I guess, how can residents or people, how can they support TriCity's Dispatch? What can we do to make sure that we keep you around and writing those wonderful stories and keeping those journalists, employed? How can we support you as residents?
Well, I mean, if you're a subscriber, that's great. If you have the resources to be a paid subscriber, that is a little better.
Okay.
And, I always say just keep talking. I mean, not everyone can pay for the Dispatch, and I totally understand that. I've gotten some very sort of heartfelt emails from people saying, I would like to, but, this financial hardship is struck, and I completely understand. But on that, just, keep talking, keep pitching, keep, giving us the feedback, because we kind of talked about it earlier, in the absence of a competitor at the moment, really the readership is the conscience. It's the, the
You're
one that's going to...
accountable to your readers.
Exactly, yeah, more than anybody else. So that's who we want to hear from. Yeah.
Well, and I really appreciate the fact that it's a media outlet with a bit of a heart, because you're saying we understand that not everybody can subscribe. We're not putting these walls and these barriers up. We're trying to make it accessible for everyone. So much appreciated there. I'm sure other people appreciate it too.
Oh, yeah. I can't promise we won't ask you for money, but we will not charge you.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Like PBS.
Yeah. No, that's great. And thank you so much, Jeremy, for coming in and talking to us today. Is there anything else that you wanted to add or leave your readers with?
Oh, I just wanted to thank everyone who reads, and for people who offer constructive criticism, general criticism, compliments, or story pitches. It's all appreciated, and I just want to thank the readers out there.
Well, thank you again for coming in, and I hope we can talk again in the future.
Oh, you bet. Thank you, Nancy.
Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Nancy Furness, and this is We've Got Issues. We've been speaking with Jeremy Shepard of the TriCity's Dispatch.